Hey everybody, this is Brian back with the VIP Soundcheck, and thank you for joining me. And I'm very honored to have members of Perfectly Still with me here today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks for bringing us on.
Absolutely. And if you wouldn't mind, each of you just kind of go around and give us your name and what you do in the band.
Sure. I'm Nick. I'm the vocalist and rhythm guitar player in the band, amongst other things.
Right on. I'm Ryan. I play lead guitar. I do some backing vocals. I do the screams. Nick helps with the screams now too. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I'm also the PR guy, so I do a lot of the management and social media work.
Yeah, and I'm Jake. I play bass, do some background singing, and my job is to bring the energy and get people moving. So I'm the hype man.
There you go. And I appreciate you guys. And Ryan, we were kind of talking beforehand, and they were saying that the toughest part of being in this band is you're just always late. Is that true?
I've been getting better. But no, time management is not my specialty. So
no, we just had to bust your chops a little.
When I say I'll be there in 10 minutes, it's more like 45, and that's kind of being nice about it. But I do try.
Hey, at least you showed. That's the important part. Now, are you guys all from North Dakota, from the Fargo area, or are you from different areas?
Sort of. We're in the general vicinity.
Okay. And I was reading that you got together a couple years ago. How all did you guys meet and form the band?
So we had an original bass player before Jake joined the band, and him and I met, say 2018 or 2019, and we were jamming, trying to get something rolling, and tried out some vocalists, tried out some different drummers, and met some great people along the way. And eventually we came across Nick, our vocalist here, and then our drummer Riley, who's unfortunately not able to be on today. And then that was kind of the birth of Perfectly Still back in 2022, I think, 2021, 2022. And then unfortunately our bass player left middle of summer last year due to some creative differences and whatnot, and Jake hopped on right away after that.
Nice. Yeah. Now, Jake, how was that coming into a band that, they've been together for a year or two? Was it difficult to jump in like that?
It wasn't really. Ryan reached out to me on Instagram and just asked, like, hey, do you want to audition? I'm like, well, I'm primarily a guitar player, and I'm like, well, I haven't really played bass in a band and haven't really done a lot of hard rock. I'm more of like a metalcore, deathcore, like all the heavy music type guy. So coming in and playing bass for that was a little bit different for me, but it's a lot of fun, and I clicked with the guys right away.
Nice.
Brings a lot of energy to the band.
Yeah. Like I said, that's my one goal.
The hype guy, I like that. Now, you said that you started around like 2021 together, so that was still when we were dealing with all the COVID crap. Was that difficult to try to get, started off the ground when you couldn't do too much?
Yeah, definitely. So rehearsals especially too, because Tyler and I, our original bass player, we met early on, and there was a point where it was like we went months without, we were just texting each other ideas back and forth because trying to, deal with all the pandemic and the restrictions that were going on. And by the time we were able to put some songs together and be able to play our first show, we were allowed to, get out there, and we kind of got like a little bit of that fresh, like, oh yeah, we can finally go back to shows. And so that was kind of a little bit of kind of helped us out as kind of like that rebirth of music and getting back out there. I hate this cat.
They're destroying stuff.
You might as well show the cats on camera anyway. Have a little segment where you just introduce our pets.
See, we keep it real here, folks.
Exactly.
Nice. So one of the things when I was listening to you guys, and, obviously we had talked about the fail safe. You guys are friends with them, know them. I've got to know them, amazing guys. I can definitely see, why you've done well performing with them. You have similar styles. Another band, some cool things as I'm listening, there was a couple times I could even hear like a little bit of a Blink-182 influence in you guys, but definitely a ton of Breaking Benjamin. as I was listening. That was something I could hear over and over. So I'm assuming those are some of the influences. Who else has been an influence on your sound?
I see it in their eyes. The face I see in the mirror is the one I don't recognize. I think they're pulling me under, down to the other side. The masses watch their screens. They don't see anything. Alone in my own head. Am I alive or dead? Someone save me now from
Definitely for me personally, I Prevail. I like a lot of what they do, and I'm definitely heavily influenced by them. Mostly in like the vocal arrangements and such. Obviously they're somewhat heavier than we are, but sound design, production, that sort of thing. I definitely take a lot of inspiration by what they do. They're like that really modern sound.
Sure.
That's what I like a lot.
Nice. Now, how about from the musical standpoint? Are you guys influenced by certain styles or certain bands at all?
Well, honestly, like, I mean, I don't know about the other guys, but personally, it's not any one particular band. I have like this playlist that I find a song that I just really like, something that they did on it, and I'll just kind of take cues from that. And it's not like any one particular band. It's mostly like individual songs or individual albums, or it's not really, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure. Very cool. And Jake, you had mentioned earlier that you were into like heavier metalcore type of bands. Is that what you grew up listening to? I'm always curious that, you talk to people, whether they're in hard rock bands, metalcore, or even country, and you listen to what they listened to growing up, and it was completely different than the band they're in now. So for each of you, was that, I mean, is this kind of what you always listened to, or did your change evolve?
My music taste definitely did. I grew up listening to a lot of classic rock and whatnot, and then the gateway band for me was Avenged Sevenfold. And then like each year I was going through school and whatnot, my music taste just got heavier and heavier to the point where I'm listening to like Meshuggah, After the Burial, like any band that strictly uses 8-string or 9-string guitars, like that was my jam. And then honestly, since joining these guys, my music taste has kind of reverted back where it's getting light, because with jamming with these guys and trying to write in the same style of that hard rock, I'm kind of rediscovering bands that I might have slept on. So like 10 Years, Hoobastank, Breaking Benjamin is another big one that I'm starting to listen to a lot more now. So it's kind of funny. Now my
Like a
pets
zoo over here.
being the problem. Hey!
That's no worries. So how about you guys?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, sorry. For me, you hit it right on the nose with Breaking Benjamin. I actually grew up my like early 8-10 years old. I was into classical music. I was ripping the violin and in school and whatnot, and I grew up a lot of the violin cello stuff. And that was kind of, my parents loved a lot of that kind of classical music too. So I kind of grew up on a lot of that, and eventually I figured out how to turn on a radio, and there came Breaking Benjamin and Green Day and Shinedown, and that was a lot of my initial influences. And I've kind of found my niche as far as like Breaking Benjamin, Starset, Red, Seven Dust, Chevelle, a lot of those 2000s and even modern now, like that hard rock, modern rock sound. That's kind of my forte. I love a lot of other stuff too. I'll get down deep and heavy with Jake on some stuff, and then I'm a big I Prevail guy with Nick also. So
nice. How about you, Nick?
Well, to be honest, I used to not listen to very much heavy music at all. I'd say the heaviest that I used to go is, oh man, yeah, not very heavy. I would say Breaking Benjamin is probably as heavy as I would go. But I recently, ever since hanging out with these guys, they're a bad influence on me.
Take you to the dark side.
Yeah. kind of becoming a bit of a metalhead here. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, I mean, I'd say that some of my biggest artists, definitely Breaking Benjamin, Green Day. Yeah, I mean, kind of grew up during that whole punk phase where everyone was listening to, the pop punk type of thing. Green Day, Sum 41, Simple Plan, just those, those pop punk bands. Definitely, 3 Days Grace was a huge one for me. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just like your average 90s to early 2000s guy, rock guy.
Nice. Now, I want to talk about the latest song that came out with Synthetic, which is a little bit of a departure from, what you've had and what you've been talking about. So it's still heavy, but it had some techno elements into it. So what made you guys want to take that little bit of a change in direction?
This is for your own safety. Please do not resist.
Do you feel your mind taking over? Slipping further, push you to the limit. Now your psyche is breaking slowly, making everything feel synthetic.
How much can we
well-
spoil here, Nick?
What's that?
How much can we spoil here?
Oh, so there's more coming. Okay.
All right, well,
So-
I'll leave it to you, Ryan. I'll leave it to you.
So,
Your capable
um,
hands.
It's kind of more coming on an older song. So not March a few months ago, but in 2023 March, we had a real cool opportunity to drive down to Los Angeles and shoot a music video that was just massive production, a lot of stagehands, a lot of things done, and it was a very concept of a sci-fi AI taking over the world. And in the time it's taken quite a bit to get this music video done. We've seen a few drafts of it and whatnot, and it's coming soon. I keep saying it's coming soon, but we all we know is it's coming soon. But it's from one of our older songs we did on our Chronicles album, and so Synthetic was like, hey, we could really ride this kind of concept theme and kind of build off of that futuristic sci-fi element and kind of tribute a song to it aside from the music video.
Okay. So that's kind of cool. So you've got the new single coming out, but then you're also going to pull back to the old album while moving forward. That's a pretty cool concept. I like that.
For sure. And also it's just kind of ties in well with, everyone's modern concern with the AI taking over the world and all that jazz. So it just kind of it fit, and we started coming up with a couple of demos. We landed on one that we liked, and we just kind of built off of it.
Sure. And you bring up a good point, Nick, and I wanted to kind of get your guys' thoughts on AI, particularly in music. It obviously started out with auto tuning, and then that's become something in and of itself. And now AI, where it's, they're saying Randy Travis is singing a song when he can't anymore. So how do you guys feel about that and what the impact on music as a whole?
I mean, it's definitely a concern in one sense, just not only for the music industry, but the world as a whole. Because I mean, it's going to affect every aspect of life, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
and it already has in a lot of ways. So I mean, I think the only saving grace is the fact that it is ultimately a machine, and it can only go so far. It doesn't have that human touch,
Right.
and I think people will crave that in the end.
Mhm.
I agree.
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. There's so many artists and bands now, or just kind of like YouTube creators who come up with AI edits and whatnot. Like I'll open up YouTube and then there's an edit of SpongeBob and Plankton duetting "Last Resort" by Papa Roach, which I'm like, that's if AI wasn't there.
Wait, that wasn't real?
Yeah, exactly. So stuff like that, where it's more of a comedic aspect, I really enjoy. But there are a few bands now. I think it's Deicide's latest album. It looks like it's completely like AI generated, and you got to kind of look out for the graphic designers who, you know, they make their money coming up with those album covers, and the AI part, it's kind of taking them out of business. So it's a messy slope, I guess, but
I think everyone will be impacted, but everyone will just adapt ultimately.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Nick. I think that there's something to be said for, you know, you're listening to a human being putting down their emotions, you know, their flaws, for lack of a better term. That's a lot of times what resonates in great music.
Oh yeah, like even all the songs that everybody loves growing up, you know, they had all that analog gear, and the reason why everyone loves it so much because it has that character that you don't really get in modern music. It's got the flaws and the little mess ups and everything that you don't really get nowadays.
Sure. Now, you had mentioned your album that came out last year, Chronicles, and then of course Synthetic is new since it's a new single since then, and then, you know, you've got kind of going back. Are you also looking to write new material for a new album coming up?
I mean, we're always working on new material. I don't want to spoil it too much, but we definitely have, you know, we have quite a few demos in the works that we're not 100% set on exactly what's going to go into the new album, but we know we're working towards it.
Nice. I would say if it's anything like what you guys released so far, it's going to be fantastic.
We're definitely we're developing our sound a lot since then. That was definitely the infancy of the band. So I mean, yeah, I would say moving forward, I would say we'll have more of an established sound for sure.
Sure.
I'm caught off guard, I'm not okay. I'm losing grip on everything. I'm stuck on pause. I'm going through the motions, constantly questioning myself. I try to be somebody else. I'm still at odds. And now I'm looking back. I should have known. Should have seen it coming down. Slip away and watch me drown.
Now, do you guys have one person that's the primary songwriter, or do you do it all four of you are involved?
That's Nick right there. Yeah.
Nick's definitely the primary guy. We'll pitch in riffs and lyric ideas, but kind of the meat and potatoes of the songwriting goes to Nick, and then he'll, I think sometimes come up with an idea at 4 a.m, sit down on the computer, and all of a sudden we call them the spicy links. We'll get in our group chat, we'll get a copy of a demo at 6 a.m. and how do you come up with this in 2 hours? And it's already fairly mixed and everything. And then we're just sitting there kind of pitching, oh, hey, let's do this on the guitar. Let's do this with the vocals. And we draft it from there before we send it in for like further production.
Very cool. Now, notice you guys, starting in June, I believe, you're going to be headed out on tour, mostly throughout the Midwest. Is that kind of the first major tour that you guys are going on? I know you've done some live shows, but is that a first full-on tour?
Yeah, first full-length tour we're doing. We've hopped on a few like support acts for tours. We did a weekend run with the Failsafe last year. So we've kind of done bits and pieces of tours, but this is our first, 2.5 week long, mostly headlining tour. And so figure we got to get our sound out there a little bit more and see some other places and meet some cool people and spread the music.
Sure. Now, how do you deal with, and you haven't started yet, but I'm sure you're probably starting to feel the nerves already of going on tour, and how do you push through that as an artist?
I mean, the fact that we've never done it before is kind of, we don't really know what to expect. I mean, I know I hear from other bands that it's exhausting, but I'm excited about it.
Sure.
For me, so I'm obviously really bad at being on time with things, but I also try to be a very good planner. So I have a Google Drive or a spreadsheets of just any little detail I can get, from the mileage to the next venue, the cost of hotels, where we're going to eat, what times we need to be here and there. Just so a lot of that is prepared in advance. So then we can budget and whatnot. We have band expenses and whatnot that we'll have to do in promotion. So trying to stay as far ahead of the game as we can. And so like I started booking this tour, I think back in December, January, and it's not until August. So there's a lot of time there that goes into this, but it also helps us to make sure we have as much ready as we can. So it just turns into mostly we just have to get to the next spot, set up, play the set, tear down, get to the next one. And obviously nothing, we all know that never goes as smooth as you want it to, but
There's always a blown tire on the highway or something like
yeah.
that. That's interesting. I think a lot of people don't stop and think about that, the actual logistics that go into this. It's not just you show up, you got your instruments and you play. It's everything that you mentioned, the behind the scenes of even down to, where are we going to eat, where to try to plan that out. And that's pretty cool. Thank you for bringing that up, because it's something that those of us that aren't in bands don't really stop and think about this. You have to actually plan this out.
Right.
Yeah, Ryan is our guy. He's definitely the planner of the band. We kind of fall apart without his meticulous planning.
That's cool. And that's one of the things the next question is, I'm sure you all rely on different strengths. Each of you brings something new to the table. And how has that dynamic made you better even obviously as a band, but as an individual artist? How does relying on each other, how's that made you better?
It's great. Okay. Well, I mean, it's great for me because this is the first band I've ever been in. And, I've been an individual musician before that, just kind of doing my thing. But it's nice to have people that you can count on to tackle other aspects of it. It's just like nice to have that sort of like just being part of a team,
Sure.
Yeah, and just to follow up with that, he nailed it. It's kind of, we have that good chemistry of being a team. And kind of when I mentioned the origin of the band is, we had our old bassist and we'd spent a couple years trying to find the right guys. And even before I met him, I'd been in and out of a few cover bands and trying to do a few original bands here and there, but it was just real tough networking and trying to find the right people that were either motivated or talented enough or just even had the desire to do what we're doing. And so I'm really blessed to have the team that I do right now. And shout out to Riley, who's not here. There's not a whole lot of drummers in our area that are wanting to do what we're doing. And he's talented and willing to put that forth. So my joke at the end of the day is he doesn't have to do anything else as long as he's here to drum, because he's good at what he does. And as far as that goes with the teamwork thing, we all kind of have our different responsibilities. So I do a lot of the band management, a lot of the PR, social media work. Nick, like we said earlier, is a primary songwriter. Jake does a lot of networking too. And he's the hype man. So we're not too much older than he is, but he just has that little bit more energy than some of us do on other moments. And so if we're mentally or physically exhausted from hours on social media or hours of production, Jake's running around kind of helping carry the weight there, and then Riley's helping out along the way. So we kind of, if you were to split the band into like 4 elements, we have like each person carrying their own weight pushed together, creating like a good complex of a team.
Very cool.
I wanna see the sun again, say goodbye to this old life, 'cause I am gone for good. Been walking around looking for a single reason to stay. Been holding on to a hope of something better that never seems to fade. I'm gonna leave this place behind. I'm never coming back.
And Jake, you mentioned, and you had mentioned earlier, kind of being the hype man on stage and getting the crowd involved. Are there certain cues that you take from a crowd of, hey, I'm going to act a little different to this show than I did the last one based on their reaction?
Yeah, audience participation is the biggest thing. And I grew up doing theater and musicals. So being able to come with that experience of being able to feed off a live audience and being able to take, okay, this audience is really, they're enjoying this part, we're going to feed into that, or they're not as receptive. It's being able to have that balance, and doing that with music, especially metal music, is awesome. Because there are shows where if the crowd is really enjoying it, like we had a headline show in Fargo in January, and the last song, like the crowd's really getting into it. I'm like, screw it. Set my bass down. I stage dive into the crowd because why the hell not? You know?
You just sense that's what they wanted. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's being able to know how the audience is feeling and just having your chemistry and just having that all rise together.
Very cool. And then Ryan and Nick, do you kind of look to Jake and see, kind of take your cue from him of how the crowd is going and how to react?
They haven't stage dove yet, so I don't know.
Well, they said you're younger, man. You
on,
hit an age where like your knees and all, you don't want to do.
Yeah, well,
too, man.
I was ready to stage
get
dive
going,
behind
man.
him at the last show, but the day before we had played a show and I'd slipped on some ice and just annihilated my shin on our trailer, and so I was doing what I could and jumping around, but I was limping that day. So one of these days we'll get there. I'll stage dive with them, but yeah, it's one of the things is early on too is one of the things that I feel kind of separates, you know, like some bands from just starting out and kind of looking a little more professional is that stage presence and knowing exactly what Jake said, knowing when and how to respond and interact with the crowd in that way. So I've been always really big on trying to get the crowd interaction when it's necessary to do so. And Jake just knows when and what to do. So him and I are, when we're not having to do the backing vocals, him and I are making eye contact just as much with each other as we are with the crowd, so we know when to make the next move and back to back and stage dive and jump and this and that.
Sure. And I agree, as a fan, that's critical, especially if you go and you're seeing a band for the first time and maybe you don't know much about them. The show that they put on can make or break whether you become a fan or not.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
You see that, you're like, that was awesome. Now I want to go check out the rest of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Very cool. So we've kind of talked a little bit, and you don't want to give away too much, and I completely understand that. But as far as touring, are you guys looking to expand out past that area? Maybe come to like Ohio, Pennsylvania? It'd be cool to see you live.
Absolutely. We don't have anything like really hard set in stone right now, but I've been along the process of booking the tour that we have now. I've done quite a bit of networking, and I just got a message earlier in the day from a guy out in, I think, in North Carolina who wants us to come. He's like, you guys got to come out here and do an East Coast run. And we met a guy or a band on TikTok a while back that's doing pretty well out in the Los Angeles area. He's like, come do a West Coast run with us. So we do work with a booking agent too that's kind of based out of the California area, but they're much more with like the larger scale, like kind of some of the buy-on tours and the massive festivals when we're doing like the shows that we are now where we're independently booking, but we have them as a resource available too.
Perfect. That's awesome. And guys, again, I want to thank you for taking time and meeting with me today. And this has been a blessing talking with you all. Before we leave, is there anything that each of you individually would like to say to fans?
I mean, check us out wherever you get your music. that's I don't think most people really realize how much that helps out a band, just checking out their music, because that's what it's all about in the end.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right on. I couldn't agree with Nick more. Along with that too, those who have checked us out, those who are watching this, huge thank you from the bottom of our heart. That, like I said, checking us out, watching this kind of stuff. Same with Brian, I'm sure he'll agree. This means the world. Checking everything
Absolutely.
out. If you like what you hear, not to give much more away, but Nick mentioned a lot of the demos and stuff we're working on. We do have album 2 on the way. We don't know when that's going to be done yet. We got quite a bit of work to do, but I've been jamming out to a few of the demos the past few days, and we got some good stuff in the works. So
we got some bangers. Can confirm. They go really. Let's just say they go really hard in the gym when you're pumping iron and whatnot. And I'm listening to the demo. It's like it's getting that extra rep in and a little bit more too. Where, oh yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Excited to hear. And of course, I'll put all the links down below so you can check out all their stuff. Make sure you check out everything, including Synthetic, their latest release. And as they're releasing new stuff, I'll be sure to let you guys know so that, you'll be able to keep up with them. And everything I've heard so far has been awesome. So I'm pumped to see what's coming next from you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day. And as always, I want to thank you all for spending this time with me. I love you all. God bless and rock on.